Good morning, motherfuckers. It is Thursday. We're on. So what was that?
We're live.
Yeah, but you said, but you gave me a head shake of a no. So I thought
The
that meant.
swear word no.
Oh, I thought you meant no, we're not on the radio.
No.
Oh, so we are on radio.
We are on the radio.
Good morning, beautiful people. It is Thursday, July 16th. Quite a day, quite a day. Yesterday was the deadline for teams and their franchise tag players to come to an agreement on a long-term extension. Only one team was able to get that done, and it was the Tennessee Titans. We'll talk about the deal they made with Derrick Henry, which seems to be a pretty reasonable deal, by the way, if you look at it from both sides. Derrick Henry did not stick the fork in them and expect everything from them, even though he put the team on his back last year and carried them to an AFC championship game. He gets a 4-year, $50 million deal with $25.5 million guaranteed. Interesting setup of that contract. The $25.5 million that he's getting in guarantees ends after the 2021 year. So that means the back 2 years are not guaranteed. That means the back 2 years probably looking at a potential renegotiation by Derrick and the Titans, maybe a release from the Titans, potential cap casualty because none of the guaranteed money will be owed to him, or maybe he just plays it out, 4 years, $50 million, and Derrick Henry continues on that rocket ship up that started when he had a conversation with Eddie George, former Ohio State legend and Tennessee Titan running back, who told him, like, hey, you need to be a monster out there. And guess what? He became said monster. In the years leading up to last year, you always saw spurts of Derrick Henry. You always saw a primetime game where the Titans would just give him the ball, and he looked like a man-child versus everybody else. You go back to college, same thing. But last year was the first time I think we all saw what we all thought was possible with Derrick Henry. And that was, hey, he's bigger than everybody. He's stronger than everybody. He seems to be quicker than everybody. Let's give him the ball and let him eat. They did that. That offensive line made a lot of moves. He made a lot of yards, and in turn made Ryan Tannehill the best quarterback he's ever been, because ding, 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 play action is a quarterback's best friend. Ryan Tannehill gets paid because of it. Now Derrick Henry gets $25.5 million guaranteed over the next 2 years, a 4-year deal in total worth $50 million. Congrats to Derrick Henry. Congrats to the Tennessee Titans. Everybody else signed their franchise tag that was expected to sign, or we'll have, no, 2 people still haven't signed a franchise tag, but everybody else will operate on their franchise tag because a long-term deal was not done. The one that everybody's talking about is Dak Prescott and the Dallas Cowboys, because everybody has said Dak Prescott is a guy who retired Tony Romo. Dak Prescott is a guy who came in and was a leader for the Dallas Cowboys and QB1 since he's inception basically into the NFL. He's done nothing wrong off the field, okay? There were some slanderous videos out there trying to take him down, but he has done nothing wrong off the field. He has just done incredible stuff on the field. Now, he only has 1 playoff win, and I misquoted that the other day. I said he has no playoff wins. He has a playoff win against Seattle, but he hasn't been able to go ahead and do that on multiple occasions. And last year, they had a great team, but they weren't able to make the playoffs. And Jerry Jones said his hands don't get cramped writing checks. Well, if he would have wrote a check to Dak Prescott before last season, before Dak has his best statistical year, his hand wouldn't have had to get a cramp. But it felt like, if you watch this entire negotiation process go down, Dak was expecting a lot of money, and Jerry did not want to give it to him in 4 years. He wanted to give it to him in 5 years, allegedly, was the big difference. And everything was kind of quiet. They didn't talk. Yesterday, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, comes and goes. Now Dak's playing for $31.4 million. But the interesting part of this entire story, because once a franchise tag is handled and done, okay, Dak's playing for $31.4 million. They can't negotiate anymore. There's no long-term deal coming to Dak this year, but Dak and the Cowboys might be getting along. Dak and the Cowboys have come to an understanding that, hey, you have 1 more season here, that you're going to have to prove it under $31.4 million. We wish we could have got a deal done, even though they probably didn't. If you expect them to be negotiating in good faith, you say probably could have get a deal done. But now you get a chance to work with McCarthy, one of the best quarterback and offensive coaches in NFL history. Let's see what you can do, and then we'll get you next year. But instead, that is not the feeling coming after yesterday, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Because Tad Prescott, okay, Tad Prescott, who had a birthday on May 10th. And the only reason why we know that is because we went through Dak's Twitter account, and Dak tweeted to Tad, happy birthday on May 10th. So that means Dak and Tad rather tight at this point. Now, you can't always listen to siblings of people and say that they're speaking for the person, because They might have had a falling out. It happens on a very regular basis. When a person in a family or a friend group gets a lot of money, sometimes that can cause a little bit of discourse in the relationships between the person with said money and success and everybody else that has been around them. Every once in a while, and people want to say, oh, the person that got the money, they changed. But I've seen in multiple cases that it wasn't really the person that changed. It was actually the friend group around them or the family group around them. Maybe they start expecting things from the person. They want things, they wish things, and it kind of ruins a relationship. So sometimes when you hear a family member speak it for somebody, it's like, well, are they even that tight? Do they even know each other? Dak wished him a happy birthday just a couple months ago. Let's assume they've been in the process. Tad Prescott said that he wasn't a Cowboys fan growing up or before they drafted Dak. And after today, who knows how much longer I'll be cheering for them. Now, he might be alluding to the fact, shout out to Tad, by the way, right there on the right side. Is that Tad Prescott, by the way? Is that Tad Prescott on the right?
Yeah.
100% sure?
85%.
I did not see that photo before we went live. I did not know we had a photo of Tad.
Yeah, it's the same as his Twitter picture.
They're in the commercial.
Oh, shout out to us. Hey, good work back there, boys.
It should be.
So Tad says, there's a reason I was never a Cowboys fan growing up or before they drafted, and who knows how much longer I'll be cheering for him. Is he saying that because history shows that if a quarterback plays on the franchise tag, he's probably not going to be a part of that team for much longer? Happened with Drew Brees when they were the San Diego Chargers. He ends up leaving, going to the Saints. Now, that was because of a shoulder issue, but still, same type of thing. And Kirk Cousins did it with the Washington football team, which, by the way, we will talk about that soon. The internet was alive last night with Dan Snyder and Washington football team stuff. But now, is he saying that because Kirk Cousins obviously leaves that team? Is Dak going to leave that team eventually because that's what history tells us? Or is he saying that because he doesn't like the way that negotiation process went? Is he saying that because Dak thought they were potentially going to be able to get a deal done and they said that he hopped in last minute to potentially try to get a deal done? Is Tad upset because they weren't able to get a deal done? Or is it because he says history proves that he probably won't be a teammate of anybody on the Cowboys because that's what the franchise tag quarterback plays shows? I don't know. Either way, they can't get a deal done, and this is going to be drama for another 12 months about Dak and the Dallas Cowboys because Dak has been great for them. They haven't won, which is what Jerry Jones says all he cares. I just want to win some games. They have not won. They have not gone for it when somebody in their division has won a Super Bowl in the same time. So it's a different thing. But boy, this whole thing is going to get ugly. It's going to be pretty. There's going to be every single press conference that Dak has in the first couple weeks of the season going to ask about the contract, his long term. It's going to be something that just lingers in the background because the Dallas Cowboys are on national television every single weekend because Jerry Jones is a part of the negotiating TV contract deal thing. So, I mean, you're going to have to hear about this for a long haul, but Tad is not happy about it. And he'll probably be changing the channel. Root for my brother, not for the team. Let's get rich somewhere else. All the boys are here at Nick Moraldo, at Tone Diggs, at Ty Schmidt, Jason McAfee, at Viva Lazito, at Evan Foxy, and on the phones, 1-833-622-3331, rocking in Uncle Sam.
Big Unk. Crop Top City, baby. I'm the mayor today.
At Boston Connor. How are you, bub?
Fantastic. We actually got these Nerf guns in here. They're awesome.
I don't know why we got those. I think it was strictly so you could do what you just did there, so Nerf could get some free advertising right on the show there.
Reload.
I saw you are cocked and loaded with those things. Nerf gun, there was like 15 of them out there at show.
Oh, yeah, there's a sniper.
Well, and if you watch Danny Amendola, Julian Edelman, I think Christian McCaffrey, they were going Juju Smith-Schuster, they were doing little Nerf wars in that mansion somewhere.
Yeah.
None of them had a mask on, by the way.
Oh, jeez. Something to think about.
I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that. How do you feel about the world today, Connor?
How do I feel about the world? Well, let's just ask the board. Are college sports dead? Hold on, we're getting the facts in the Xerox machine. Yeah, they're dead. So I don't feel good about the world today right now.
It's not just the college sports thing is so tough because Harvard has already said that they're not doing any sports this fall, right? Or not Harvard. I guess they're part of it. Ivy League came out and said, well, they're not doing sports this fall. And everybody was like, well, it's Ivy League. Yeah, okay. They read more books and stuff like that, but sports don't matter to them, okay? That's not what they're getting rich. Hey, we're not professional sports people up here. We're professional big brain people. That's what we do up here at Ivy League schools. We create businesses, things like that. Like, that is what everybody thought. But then when the Big Ten said, hey, we're only doing our conference, and then the Pac-12 allegedly agreed with them via a report, and you're like, okay, so they are adapting a little bit here. Is that because of business or is that because COVID? And then the SEC, Greg Sankey says, my worries are high to very very high, and I'm like, well, that's the SEC now. That's a little bit of they only care. It seems like about it. No, good schools down there. Obviously, Florida's like top 5 public school, and I understand the academics are a big deal, but the SEC cares very much about their football in sports. And then the SEC comes out again, and they postpone all their fall sports except football to the spring. It's like, oh no, it feels like it's just like you're just walking down the stairs, and it's just each step is even closer and closer to them saying, not doing anything in the fall in college, because, as we have stated, it's not just the sports people making the decisions right now. It is the people who maybe don't love the sports or care about the sports. There are people, now I'm not saying that people that love sports and care about sports would dance around any potential health guidelines to do anything, but they would try to their absolute best. And I think that has been proven. You look at Dana White, what he's been doing to UFC. You look at Vince McMahon, the WWE. You look at AEW. You look over at the MLB making things happen. You look at what the NFL is probably going to be able to do in the NBA. People that are only focused on sports, they'll be able to kind of dodge, duck, dip, dive, and dodge through all of the health guidelines, because that's all they're worried about. But in college, you got people, I don't know, admissions people, you got presidents, you got all these people, board of governors that are making decisions that all they're focused about is getting their school back, because they're charging people $7 million for education that's probably only going to make the people $10,000 a year for maybe the rest of their lives. So that's what they're focused on. They're not focused on bringing back the sports yet. And I think that is why there's a big question mark around college sports. And I think that's why your fax machine back there on that dry erase board is probably right.
Unfortunately, college basketball also so dead. But do you think because the Big Ten is doing conference only that the SEC and the Pac-12 and the ACC might do that as well?
I would assume, but I think the SEC, and they came out and they didn't want to say that because they knew that their other college sports they're probably going to postpone. Everything is basing around what the campus rules are in their conference. Everything is like the Robin Harris, the Ivy League executive director. She said that they had to move the sports, to cancel the sports, because the way the campus's rules were set up, there was no way sports were going to be able to happen. So the amount of people allowed in rooms, the a lot of people that are allowed to go out, the amount of people that are allowed on campus, like there's a bunch of rules on all those campuses that she and I guess their board of directors or whatever decided that it was not going to be able to be possible. So I think the SEC has been sitting back here and they're like, yeah, it's cool what the Big Ten's trying to do. They're trying to get through it in the Pac-12. But Greg Sankey, every time he gets on an interview, boy, he sounds a little bit more and more pessimistic every single time. What up, Zeke?
Could we see a March Madness bubble? Would that be something like that could happen?
I don't know. I have no idea. That's a lot of money, I'd assume.
Yeah. And it would bring in a lot of money, though, right?
Yeah, but then who would be paying for that? The NCAA would pay for that?
Well, and same thing. Like football would be so much harder than basketball because how many guys are on a college football team?
No, but it's a lot different.
I was talking about basketball, though.
Yeah, but it's a lot different as a business than as a what the NCAA is, right? Yeah. So who's fronting the money for that? Like the NBA, they're a business. So the NBA is fronting the money for a lot of this stuff, right? Or they're getting sponsors to front. What would the NCAA? The NCAA would have to then get sponsors to front and put up the bubble.
Maybe
and maybe they'll be able to do that, but then we're getting into a world with the name, image, and likeness thing. If the players, I mean, there is a never-ending just. I don't want to say BS because, I mean, it's not BS. Those are all very important things. But if you just want to put them into a bucket, let's say there's a bunch of BS that has to get dealt with. And I'm not trying to diminish each one of those things, but there are so many things that have to happen for universities and campuses and all that. Because it's not a business. Remember, it's not a business.
It's an education.
It's a furthering your education.
And if they were to push the college football season back, would they still do the college basketball season at the same time? Or they push that back?
They can, unless all the players go to the G League.
Yeah. And all the top ones are
$500,000 go to college, maybe. Ooh. Get yelled at and get sued by agents after you make it to the NBA because they weren't a good enough agent to be able to keep you as one of their clients. I mean, the NCAA thing is going to be very interesting to see how that plays out in the next 5 to 10 years.
Pay the players.
For basketball, especially with the money. If the G League keeps upping the money too, which they potentially could if they start getting young superstar players in there because TV deals will go up. So then the G League potentially can pay people more. If it's at $500,000 now, is what they're saying. This dude, number one 2021 prospect, Jonathan Kuminga, if he is going to be able to make $500,000, and this is before a bunch of young studs have gone over there for TV deals to get reworked, I mean, that money's only going to go up. It's like, all right, you make $500,000 minimum, That's not shoe deals or anything else you got going. $500,000 minimum. Or do you go to an institution where you can learn and fake school for a while and then potentially get sued because you almost received money at one point? I mean, it's just feels like that system's potentially broke, but I'm not even worried about college basketball at this point. I think college football is the first thing that we got to worry about, and that seems like it's getting geared.
My favorite thing that Sankey did in the SEC is he said it's too early to make a decision on football season, so we're not going to make a decision until late July. But those other sports, we can make a decision on those. Those are definitely not happening.
Yeah, exactly. He's like, listen, no offense to soccer, okay, volleyball. We appreciate everything you guys do. We love watching it. Those things are going to move for sure. But the football, we'll wait until the end of the month to see if we can go last minute here. And by the way, end of the month is when training camp starts, when the season starts. So we actually can't delay that decision. Like, we have to make a decision now, but we will wait this son bitch out.
Well, like the health and safety stuff is obviously paramount and very important, but we talk about it all the time. Like, isn't it short-sighted when you look at like these big schools, like how much football does for their endowment? Like they can't afford to lose that much money.
But if they admit that, then it's an entire another conversation with the student human athletes, right? If they admit that, then it's a whole bigger deal. Oh, so you are just doing it strictly for money then. So it's not about the student or the human or the athlete. This is strictly for money, which we all kind of know, but then that would put it out on a stage and everybody would see it. But you're right back there. I think college sports are potentially in trouble.
Well, I mean, especially some of those fall sports, like that LSU stat. Their only fall sport that made money was football. It's $56 million. Every other one was in the red.
Yeah.
Well,
those decisions are a lot easier to make.
Yeah.
Okay, so loses money. Do we have any money? No, people can't even come, right? No. So let's get rid of the ones that are costing us money. Let's go ahead and move the red. Okay. Let's hold on to the green until we can't possibly hold on to the green anymore. And by the way, this is really business-like, and maybe we should think about paying the employees. No. Put that away. Put that away. Don't even think about that. Intern Mitt's getting an extra day of work here. How's it going, Intern Mitt?
Going really good, Pat.
Mullet Mitt had one of his worst outings yesterday.
By far.
Said a legend's name wrong 3 times, then blamed Google when Google was trying to say it right for him. But I think today's a new day for you, Mitt.
New day. Getting excited for it. Let's go.
Oh, that a boy. Jacked up.
Hell yeah.
Can you say his name?
What was the golfer and legend's name yesterday that joined us?
I'm pleading the fifth.
Smart. Smart.
Look at that. You're learning.
I don't like that. I don't like that.
You would rather people assume you're dumb than open your mouth and prove it, right? That is like a classic quote. It's been said to me a lot.
I've never heard that.
Yeah. You'd rather just people assume that you're stupid than open your mouth and go ahead and lock it in for them, basically, you know. And that's what Mitch just did right there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th. Seems like there's potentially going to be a lot of that over in Washington. So last night the internet was abuzz. In all week, all week, there's been different reporters from the DMV area, from D.C., Maryland, Virginia, people that cover the Washington team named TBDs. And they said that, there's big news coming out this week, and it's not about the team name. A guy named Abraham did it, another dude that works for ABC7, then NBC Sports Washington. I mean, there has been numerous reports that have come out that people are like, hey, massive bad news is coming for the Washington football team. And everybody that wasn't in the area was like, oh, this is them retiring the name and having to find a new name and potentially losing a fan base that's mad about it, but gaining a whole new fan base. That's not that bad of news. And then they were doubling down, these people. They're like, no. We're not talking about anything about the name. There is massive bad news coming for the Washington football team named TBD. So whenever you see that, you have to start thinking to yourself, well, what could this possibly be? And then you start hearing stories about the minority owners, the people that own 40% of the Washington football team named TBDs, and they want out. And I've never heard of a single human that is trying to get out of the NFL ownership business. That is just not something that happens. They make money every single year. The values of these teams double nearly every 3 years or 4 years or something like that. It is a business that is printing money at this point. So if you're an NFL owner, you would think you would want to hang on to that however you can. But then you hear like, well, the minority owners that own 40%, they want out. And then you hear like bad news is coming. It has nothing to do with the name. So you start piecing it together. It was like, what the hell could that be? It must be terrible then. It must be absolutely terrible news. So then your mind starts to wander into where it could potentially go. And then last night on the internet was a buzz. There was people that have inside sources that are lawyers in D.C. They're talking about how sexual assault allegations are potentially coming out. We're talking drug and alcohol abuse in the building, pimping out the cheerleaders, they said. There's like potential sketchy business ethics happening there, and it's all going to get exposed. Now, this is all allegedly, obviously. We have no idea who this guy is, but these are the types of things that would make sense on why the minority owners want out. They don't want their names associated in any of this because they're probably not at the building every single day, and the fact that this was happening, they might actually not have known. And by the way, who knows what was happening at the building? Who knows if Dan Snyder knew if it was happening or if this was something else? But any of it, it all makes sense when you start thinking of like, oh, there must be sexual misconduct. Oh, there must be drug and alcohol. Oh, there must be some questionable business ethics. When you start putting those together, it's like, oh, that's why people wanted the hell out of there. And now the Washington Post is sitting on a story or finishing a story, and the rest of the world is just like, all right, Washington Post, tell you what, I couldn't tell you one time in the sports world where there was this much hype for an article or a column that was coming out. Right now, you're talking about a team that is in the middle of potential change. They're changing their name, okay? So a brand new franchise is being invented in 12 days before training camp's supposed to start. And there's an entire expose coming from the Washington Post, which is a rather large company that is just going to basically display their entire toxic culture from there. This is a bad week to be a Washington football team named TBD. But for the rest of the world, we're like, all right, let's see what comes out here. Now, obviously, we hope everybody's safe. We hope everybody is okay. But, boy, whenever you think about that Washington team, last year Bruce Allen was like, hey, you know, our culture actually isn't really that bad. Pretty good. Yeah. Then you go back like 2018, the New York Times wrote an article that was basically a lot of this stuff that was mentioned in that guy's tweet, talking about how they traveled, the Redskins cheerleaders traveled to Costa Rica for a photo shoot, and there was some nude photo shoots, and then there was some parties that they were asked to go to for sponsors, and there was like 14-hour days, and there was spectators watching them change. It was there's a lot of these things came out 2 years ago, so everybody's wondering like, okay, what does the Washington Post have that could either clarify those a little bit more, maybe legitimize those stories a little bit more because for whatever reason maybe that one didn't catch on, or do they have even more? And boy, the Washington Post is kind of holding all the cards right now, and I would assume Dan Snyder's just sitting out front like, is there any way we could potentially talk about what's about to happen here?
Do you think it looks bad when you see like some of these executives and higher level guys resigning? Like, does that make them look complicit in this, or do you think they're just trying to distance themselves as quick as possible?
So I think the easy thing to do would say, oh, they were a part of it, they're getting out, they're running for the hills, right? That would be an easy thing, just because if you're a pessimistic person, it's like, oh, they're obviously guilty, they're trying to get out of there. Or maybe these people didn't know this was happening and they're just learning about it as everybody else is, and they're like, wait a minute, I cannot be a part of this, right? There's always, who knows how that's going to go. And I assume, by the way, there's going to be a lot of trials in court, and there's going to be defamation of character and slander and libel, and then there's going to be charges for this. I mean, there is going to be a lot that goes into this, all the while they're trying to change their name, okay? It is an absolute cluster truck over there. And Dwayne Haskins is going into his second year. This is his first time with a brand new coach, brand new offense coordinator, brand new system, and literally the entire building around him is burning. He is that gif
The dog.
of that dog and everything just burning around him. Now, we obviously hope justice is served for everybody that did wrong, but if you think about it from a sports standpoint, whenever they talk about distractions and how, oh, we can't bring this player in because he's a distraction, it's going to hurt us from winning, and we can't do this, and you can't do this because it's you got to worry about the team. It's like, it feels like this Washington football team named TBD within the next couple of days, it feels like they're one massive distraction, and it's no wonder they stink. It's no wonder they stink, especially if all this comes out. But the fact that this is even all possibly coming out and everybody's like, yeah, definitely, that just tells you exactly what that franchise is right now, which is trash, and their fans are a loyal fan base. Dwayne Haskins seems to be a great young quarterback. Ron Rivera is a good coach. So there's a lot of things that are potentially like positive from that. And it's just like, well, none of it matters because everything around it is just the absolute worst possible thing.
Yeah, and when the rumors started coming out, you think, all right, maybe it's true, maybe it's not. And then, but like to Ty's point, the two front office execs being fired, and then yesterday, like the play-by-play or whoever it was resigned out of nowhere. that kind of lends some like, hey, maybe there is something going on here. And then poor Ron Rivera, because
There's no way he knew about
no
this.
chance.
But
I'm saying this is the second time because in Carolina, the owner was the same. Like, not we don't know what happened yet, but similar if the rumors are true.
Well, and then Ron Rivera, right? Now, the only thing that could potentially get Ron Rivera in trouble is Ron Rivera told us on our show, because I said, why Washington? He could have went anywhere. Ron Rivera could have taken any job he wanted that was open. That's how highly respected Ron Rivera is. And aside from the massive amount of money that I think Dan Snyder paid him, he said that he asked people who knew Dan Snyder what Dan Snyder was like as opposed to the public image. And he said everybody said this is what he's actually like. And Ron Rivera was like, okay, let's go to work together, you know. So that would be the only way that Ron Rivera could have potentially had a heads up that any of this was happening. But what if Ron Rivera is the guy in there like, hey, we got to fix all this, okay? Like, this can't happen anymore. What if he's the one that told Washington Post, like, hey, listen to what's going on over here? What if he is actually trying to right the ship here with everything? Because it is alleged that he's in those conversations with Snyder about the new team name. They want to move forward. But Ron Rivera, his name's now getting attached to this thing. And I think every human that's ever met Ron is like, that's a good guy right there.
Yeah.
But, boy, I think there's going to be some real bad guy stuff come out. 25 minutes after the hour, we have to get to a break. Lorenzo Alexander will be joining us, former Bills Mafia legend, also NFLPA Executive Committee member. They'll be talking to the NFL today at 11 o'clock, or the NFLPA is having a meeting amongst themselves at 11 o'clock to discuss the comeback to play, the rollback into the season, which is only 12 days away, by the way. I feel like these conversations are going to be pretty lengthy. We'll ask Lorenzo about what they're talking about. We're back on the other side. This is the Pat McAfee Show, Thursday, July 16th.
For 15 seconds before I hit the anvil. I've been trying to time myself out for 15 seconds. I've never spoken for 15 seconds before. There's no chance. It's a new era for college football. All right, let's go. You're all badasses. Thank you all for your service. Have an incredible day out there. It's the safest place in America right now. Holy hell. All right, everybody smile. You're probably not supposed to. Hey, safe travels. We appreciate the hell out of all of you. Go kick ass. Hooah! Hey, the best game in the history of the drumline is going to be today. You guys are going to steal the show and set the How's it going? My name's Pat. I swing a big hammer, and when I talk, people listen. A long fucking day. So I had to switch it to damn. When I get going like that, it really catches. Hey, big blown swing today, huh? Another week about to start, Foxy. Triple H texted me, said he enjoyed it. Nice. He said if anybody's making fun of you for the size of your hammer, just tell them it's not the size, it's how you swing it.
Fellas, are you prepared to unveil your summer bod? The beaches are opening, the sun is shining, and the bushes must be tamed. Manscaped is here to ensure your post-quarantine body is ready for the wild. Manscaped is dedicated to helping you level up your full-body grooming game, and they have forever changed the grooming game with their Perfect Package 3.0, which comes with the Essential Lawnmower 3.0, which is a waterproof cordless body trimmer, and a ton of other liquid formulations to round out your manscaping routine. You can also adjust settings to get a length you like, and you can stay on top of it with almost no effort at all. Be sure to use their crop cleanser to keep your hair and skin healthy. It's an all-in-one formula, so it's as good for healthy chest hair as it is for your skin.
Hell yeah.
You'll also find the Crop Reviver, a below-the-belt toner that's designed to give you a pep in your step and smell great.
Hell yeah.
And for a limited time, subscribers get 2 free gifts: the Shed Travel Bag and the patented high-performance reduced chafing Manscaped Boxer Briefs. Get 20% off and free shipping with the code PATM at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com and use code PATM. Your balls will thank you.
Yeah! Shout out to my balls thanking me, being grateful, because when you don't use Manscaped, your balls can potentially be ingrates, and no thank you, because the battle that you're putting them through every single time. But with the Lawnmower 3.0, that thing just goes super smooth over there.
Yeah.
New Era and the Buffalo Bills have ended their relationship of New Era being the official sponsor of Orchard Park, the stadium up there in Buffalo. Good news for the Buffalo Bills, though. Tushy, a bidet company, would like to step in there, which could be tough for the Buffalo Bills to kind of spin that it is an actual toilet stadium at that point. Yeah. But hey, that's business, baby. That's right. Speaking of business, the Buffalo Bills are about to go here, by the way. I'd assume the sponsors are going to jump in there. Speaking of the Buffalo Bills, we got a Bills Mafia legend and also an NFLPA vice president, which has a rather large meeting in about 28 minutes from now to discuss the rollout back into play in the crazy world that we're in. Ladies and gentlemen, 2-time Pro Bowler and All-Pro, Lorenzo Alexander.
Yeah, Lorenzo! Woo! Fellas, what's up?
Hey, great to chat with you. Thank you for making some time with us today, Lorenzo. Let's get right into it. The NFLPA, something that you know a lot about. We chatted to you about the CBA negotiations and the voting, and you were incredibly good at breaking it all down. Now, we saw what happened with the MLB and the MLBPA. We saw what happened with the NBA and the NBPA. We saw what happened with the MLS and their players. We've seen all this go down before with the return to play during this COVID-19 quarantine era. The conversation in 28 minutes that's going to happen with the NFLPA, what is that going to be about, and when do you think there's going to be a vote on whether or not July 28th will be a date that is a sticking date for training camp return?
Yeah, I'm not quite sure when that date will be as far as voting on the actual protocols or whatnot, but right now we're still kind of working through all the details. Also, we're fortunate enough to kind of watch those other leagues that you just kind of rattled off right there, see some of their mistakes and their errors that they've made, and making sure that we protect our players foremost from the virus. Obviously, making sure that the health and safety protocols are properly implemented, structured, so that we can mitigate this disease as much as possible. Obviously, in a contact sport like football is going to be extremely hard in close quarters, but we got to make sure that those things are in place. Number 2, the second prong is obviously the economics of it, which is always tightly tied to all these discussions because it's professional sports, and making sure that our guys, if they want to opt out, are taken care of. What is it going to look like this year because of revenue will be down? How do we overcome that shortfall based with the confines of our CBA? So there's a lot of different, issues that we have to continue to comb over and look at, and it's going to take a little bit of time. We obviously got 2 weeks before training camp, but we're working diligently as far as getting this thing panned out. As far as our perspective, obviously the owner's perspective, which oftentimes is in opposite ends, and then move towards a goal as quick as possible.
Does it feel as if there's a spirit of cooperation this time around? We talked to Pierre Maguire, who's NBC NHL reporter, and he said that with the NHL and the NHLPA, it felt like there was a spirit of cooperation. They got an extension on a CBA done for another couple years. They got bonuses paid out early. They got 2 hub cities. It felt like that conversation, which nobody expected the NHL to be able to do, went very well. Does it feel like, because Richard Sherman said that they had a conversation with management, it went very well. Does it feel as if this is 2 sides trying to come together and get this done more so than it has in the past?
Yeah, it's definitely beneficial that we got our CBA done right before this hit. I mean, I think if we were going through this time, the talks would be a lot more contentious. But I think because we have that business kind of set up in the structure there's not like in the MLB posturing for the future CBA. And so I know as far as the science perspective of it, though, when we talk about health and safety, we're just following the science. Both sides can see what we need to do with the protocols by the joint committee have been recommended, and it's easier to fall in line there. Obviously, there's been some contention over 2 preseason games, 0 preseason games, but that's more based on coaches want to evaluate players. But I think we'll get to where we want to be on that issue. But money is money. It's always trying to figure out the best way to get to the end goal. I think we all understand that COVID has impacted the economics of the world, and football is not immune to that. And so it's about how do we remedy it. I think there's different methods. I think the owner's method is a lot different than ours. And so that's going to probably be the biggest fight, not actually over the money, but how do we overcome this shortfall that we've all had to endure.
35% in escrow was such a very aggressive stance. I feel like the NFL started swinging. I feel like that was quite an early shot by the NFL. And then since that got leaked publicly, and then there were some players, I thought there was a chance it was going to get very public and very ugly. But since then, it has kind of died back. Is that because there hasn't been conversations, or has there been an actual effort to not try to get this out on the streets?
Yeah, I think both. I think it's been an effort not to make this all public. Obviously, that's never good for guys that make the type of money we make, as well as the owners, to kind of publicly go back and forth, understanding the climate that and the entire country is in, and people that are less fortunate, and so never want to flaunt that in people's face. And I think also, the talks. We've kind of moved away from that process of even thinking that 35% is the reality. And I think the owners understand that. And so we're trying to come up with different ways, continue to go over these proposals, going back and forth, and move to a goal that is, I think, mutually beneficial to both players and ownership. And I think there's ways that we can do that are creative, and it may not be 100% buy-in, but if we can get buy-in, obviously, when we're doing these big type deals, when they impact so many people, if we can get the majority to buy in, I think it'll be good.
Lorenzo, I saw yesterday that one of the potential hang-ups is the injury designation if a player does get COVID, whether it's a non-football injury or how it's classified. Right. For a simple brain like me, I didn't really understand what maybe the holdup was there. Can you explain that?
Well, it's all about liability, right? And so where did you contract the disease? How did you get it? And so obviously guys have already had it. It's past them, or did you get it once you get to training camp when you're traveling? Are you covered as you travel to training camp? Are you covered once you go home from work? What does that look like as far as being covered for that injury? And will it be considered a non-football injury where you won't get paid, or would it be under the umbrella of a football injury because you contracted it at work? And since we can't detect it, obviously players want to be covered wherever we're at, especially at work, because that's probably the most highest risk place that we can get it, versus the owner's going to say, well, players are out at the club hanging out. They probably got it there, and they're trying to pass liability to some other way so they don't have to be responsible for the future ramifications, because we really don't understand this disease, obviously in the present, and who knows what long-term effects it may have, especially on those that have long-term or underlying pre-existing conditions.
That's a classic motorcycle. Yeah, you can ride a motorcycle, but if you get hurt, we're not paying for a dime of that thing. Yeah. The thought though about the testing, is the conversation now that guys are getting tested every single day? Because if guys are going to get tested every single day, there's a lot of dudes on a lot of teams, including equipment managers, athletic trainers, everybody around there. Is that what would have to be the case, you think, for this deal to get done? Is like, hey, we need everybody tested every single day?
Yeah, well, that's what our jointly appointed medical committee recommended. I think that's why we're trying to follow the science, because when you put all these people, as you said, it's more than just the players. It's coaches, front office, the medical personnel, trainers, the equipment staff, all these people are in the room. And so you have to make sure that we are getting tested daily, and we're not in a bubble. So I'm going home to my kids who may be going to school, my wife who may be working, who knows everybody's exact situation. And you want as much information as you can so that you don't have somebody who's asymptomatic essentially spreading it throughout the locker room or its position group, or to a coach, which I think would be even more impactful, because if you lose 2 or 3 coaches, that is, it's going to be almost impossible to play a game.
How about head trainer? How about head trainer or physical therapist? I mean, there's a lot of very important people. There's a lot of very important people that people aren't thinking. But now, granted, quarterback, obviously a problem. But there's a lot of other people that are very important to the operation of a team.
Yeah, getting guys tape, making sure guys are healthy. It's a lot of things that go into it, and we don't have a backup of all those jobs and those positions. And so the more information you have, I think it's better anytime that you're dealing with a disease, especially that you don't understand a virus. And so you want to be tested because you may have a false positive, false negative. What does that mean? Let me get tested every single day so I can help mitigate the virus as best we can in those close confines.
Now, I don't want to pivot away from this because this is a massive part of your life right now. Like the conversation that's going to happen. I mean, you're probably going to have some sleepless nights, I'd assume, in the next 12 days here. And I want to thank you. Hey, thank you, by the way.
Let's go.
Hey, we need football, okay? So you get in there and you go and get it done. But let's act as if football does come back. You're a Buffalo Bills legend, obviously. Bill Belichick's paying $1 million for Cam Newton to be their quarterback. How do you feel about that?
That's crazy, but it really doesn't matter. I don't care who the quarterback is up there. I mean, I think at this point, what the Bills have been able to build over the last 3 years, the talent that they've added, it's really their division to lose. And so I see them, if they're not competing for the AFC Championship, I think the season has been a disappointment just because of what they have in place. And so that's just me being in that room, understanding what the culture is, understanding the talent and the work ethic of those guys. And obviously, if guys get hurt, that's something different. But everybody staying healthy, they should make another big jump. I mean, what do we have? 10, 11 wins last year. I mean, I should see someone in that same vicinity and maybe even contending for a number one seed where they can get that bye, which I think is going to be critical.
Okay. I didn't know this is how the Bills Mafia feel. I did not know this is how the Buffalo Bills feel. I like that this is how
that? Of course. I mean, it's all there. The pieces are there. They still got to go out and do the work, of course, but there's no reason why they shouldn't. I mean, Sean, obviously this pandemic and all that's kind of thrown a wrench, but they put the work in. They understand how to work. They understand how to play. And I think because they have that continuity, it's going to give them a leg up early in the season versus some other teams that have a new head coach, young quarterback, maybe a young roster. Is to win some of those early games because of their veteran presence and their knowledge of the scheme. They don't have to really teach too much.
So, Lorenzo, with you saying all that, and you were on that team last year, like, are you thinking in the back of your head, like, hey, a couple starting linebackers may get COVID in the middle of the season. I need to stay prepared in case there's a phone call.
Oh, I'm ready. I'm working. You never know. So they make that run. Yeah, call me up, Brandon. I'll be ready for you.
Good luck in that call in about 18 minutes. We hope you guys can figure something out, obviously, in the safest fashion possible. We can't thank you enough for joining us, Lorenzo.
I appreciate you, Pat. I'll see you later.
Hey, stay safe, stay healthy. Ladies and gentlemen, Bills Mafia legend, Lorenzo Alexander.
Yeah, Lorenzo!
Woo! We have to get to a break here, 43 minutes after the hour. Hey, the Buffalo Bills, did you hear that?
Oh, yeah.
Does not matter who they have. Oh, my God.
We heard it.
Oh, no.
Did you get a fax there?
It's funny you say that. I actually did get a fax. Is Bills Mafia delusional? Yes. Answer.
What's underneath the second one? You never lift up the second one.
No, it'll come.
Yeah.
It'll come.
Just wait, Tony.
I did not expect that though. He's like, hey, yeah, it doesn't matter who they got. This is a big year for the Buffalo Bills. Let's go.
Best team in the division.
Let's go.
Stephon Diggs too.
Number one seed, he said. Yeah. Let's go.
Yeah.
I'm pumped about the Buffalo Bills all of a sudden.
They're definitely going to be number one.
Need a new stadium sponsor for sure, but I'm pumped about the Buffalo Bills. All right, we're back on the other side to wrap up hour one here. Insane day in the sports world. Thursday, July 16th. This is the Pat McAfee Show.
Hi, how's it going? My name is Pat McAfee. Used to hold balls for Adam Vinatieri. Now I'm in his home state. College game day is absolutely electric. In Brookings, South Dakota. Let's go!
College game day has made the voyage to Brookings, South Dakota to experience a game with the best fans in college football. I unfortunately cannot attend because I have a game this Sunday, so I sent a man I trust to make my picks. A man who was my holder for almost a decade. Please be nice to him. Welcome this week's celebrity guest picker, Pat McAfee.
Go big, go blue, go Jacks.
Hosting Auburn. Yes, everybody saw this. The best fake punt in the world. What do you think, Pat?
I absolutely loved it all the way up until execution time. That is not what we like to show in the brand headquarters and punting and kicking world.
Oh, dance off. Oh, let's get weird. Yes. Duck that, huh?
Bang! Right off the top of the dome. That makes it a lot easier when you got a dummy standing right in front of you like that.
Running. He's Hayukin! Daniel Russo!
Wax on, wax off, knee to the face.
More serious.
Go, yes!
These teams stink. With that 15, they celebrate by doing shotguns. And I know they figure that out. I'm going with the University of Virginia Cavaliers. That was great. Whoa! I will never, ever in the history of my life cut against that ball. Oklahoma State is the way here. Not so fast again.
But I'm going with Trey.
Please excuse my dumb friend Kirk. Look at this crowd. They've been out here since 4 a.m. College game day comes to town. They lose their mind. The population of this state is about 800,000. And when the Jackrabbits take the field, they're alongside all 800,000 South Dakotans. The Dakota marker was in Fargo for far too long. Today, 5 o'clock local time, the Dakota marker is back in beautiful Brookings, South Dakota. Alvin and Terry School. They might be the Jackrabbits, but they're the GOATs today. Ladies and gentlemen, South Dakota State with the win.
Give me that place in.
No, don't do that. No. Leave.
Coach has the Pat says it'll be no.
I told you I came on your radio show that we were going to get you on College Game Day.
Not only are you incredibly intelligent and handsome, you're a man of your word. You picked North Dakota today, so I had to bury you.
That's okay.
But it's been nothing but incredible. The College Game Day crew is hospitable. In South Dakota State, I think we can all agree, they showed up here.
Yeah.
But I loved it. I've watched the show, obviously, forever. And it's on in every single NFL locker room. My coaches are.
Yeah.
So this is a big-time deal for me, my family, my friends.
All right, I'm back in the day here. Appreciate you, boys.
It's from the training room at the Colts. AJ Watt tweeted.
I think it's very hard to process a human being on television.
Get texts from every human that I've ever done television with, like since way back in the day. They're like, we knew this day would come. Equipment managers, old teammates. I mean, you don't get to trend on Twitter often anymore. They make it damn near impossible. Go up onto a stage with a couple legends, talk some shit in front of the incredible South Dakota fans. What an awesome opportunity. Information continues to kind of seep out from DC about what the potential Washington Post article could be about. All anybody has tweeted is it's going to be big and it's going to be bad. It's going to be big, it's going to be bad. It's going to be sad, it's going to be big, it's going to be bad. They're going to be mad about how big and bad and sad it is. And we're going to be a little bit tad uncomfortable while reading the big, sad, bad, mad news coming from the Washington Post.
Won't be rad.
Be glad you're not involved.
Well said.
Ron Rivera now is obviously not glad that he is a part of the tad disappointing, sad, mad news that's coming out of the Washington Post.
He is sad.
I mean, the way this has been hyped up, by the way, has been monumental at this point. I mean, it has been put up there, and I feel like at the end of the day, it's going to be just one disgusting thing to read from top to bottom. And by the way, not what the NFL should be. You know what I mean?
Nope.
The NFL is supposed to be, protect the shield. This is the shield. I'm getting a call right now from somebody that potentially has news on what's happening right there. That person knows me very well and knows I'm in the middle of the show. Was I supposed to answer that right there live on air?
I say you answer.
Yeah.
No, I can't because I don't know what that person's going to say right there.
Hey, don't say anything yet, but
That's what I think was just about
say
to happen
something.
right there.
Yeah. Oh, you just turned
Just text him and say, hey, text it.
Let's go to Chris in California. I mean, what the hell was that? That person knows I have a show.
Hey, man, how's it going?
Hey, not bad.
Hey, not bad. How are you, bro?
Doing all right, man. I'm a huge fan of the show, so whatever I got to do to support you and the boys, I'm all for it, man. I'm waiting on my For the Brand apparel. I can't wait till it comes in the mail.
Oh, it's going to come. It's going to come.
oh no.
I really need your opinion on something, Pat. I heard, I'm not a big fan of it, but do you think our Fresh Prince Williard is at these DC parties?
Billard.
That's a possibility.
Billard. You're talking about Billard over there? Is that what you're talking about over there?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if Billard was there, but
Oh boy.
I played Billard before.
that was a very, very, very long text message, and as I was scrolling through there, I saw some big words and big names in there.
Oh no.
Oh, what do I do? This is why people know not to tell me anything. What am I supposed to do right now?
Go to my sources.
I want to read that thing live right now.
I'm assuming
But I think there's potential legal ramifications.
Get the FaceTime out. Get them on.
Not if you say sources.
Let me look at it. Allegedly. No.
Oh, God, our ears.
Oh man.
Oh, no.
it's a bombshell.
That is, I just read one sentence there. I'm not going to be the person that's going to have that come out of my mouth first. But if that is it, this is going to be massive.
Can you screenshot and send it to the
Well, it's not just
the boys?
Okay, how about this? How about this?
Oh, let's
For the
pop one
boys.
and read it.
Tony Scoops.
From what I just read,
Tony Scoops will send it.
that is a 6-paragraph thing I just got, okay? So I might have just got the entire Washington Post article sent to me there, or at least a piece of it. It doesn't just involve actions off the field.
Oh no.
That's all I'll say. Allegedly.
They're disrespecting our game on the field?
Hey, they
Goodness
are
gracious.
compromising the game on the field potentially.
Those mother. Well, it didn't help them, so.
Cheaters.
I don't know if that's going to get out the sentence I just read, but if it does, big, big, big problems for a lot of people, not just the Redskins. Well, sorry, the Washington football team named TBDs.
Stinks for Chase Young.
I don't know what to do here. I mean, how is that just sitting right there? I have a 5 million view video sitting right there if I really wanted to look at this thing.
Do it.
You got to break it 1 minute, and then it'll give you.
I'm not doing it.
Digest it going into hour
That's
2.
what I'll do. And then I will figure out whether or not I should read it in hour 2. That is what I'll do. I am going to read through that, and I will see if that is something that I should say publicly. I feel like there's potentially a lot of lawsuits coming out of this just because of the things that were said about certain people. I only read 3 sentences basically in this entire thing. That is a 3-scroller. Oh, no. Oh, this is a spot now, huh? They don't tell you about this, huh? When you do an everyday radio show, they don't tell you about this situation potentially happening. I have no idea how to handle this. All right, hour 2 of the radio is on the other side. Might get canceled today. This is the Pat McAfee Show.
Just checking your availability. If you're in Indianapolis now, did you get to Buffalo?
Yeah, I got a plane that's supposed to take me down to game day anyways, so I could definitely have it go to Buffalo first. How long is the flight from Indy to Buffalo? You can find us a plane for like 4 o'clock. I think that'll be perfect.
The best we can do is depart around 5:30.
Okay, do we have can you find any other planes that can get us out of here earlier than that? I was just asked if I could appear in Buffalo within the next 4 hours to basically
do the show on Fox tonight.
Okay, I'll call you back.
You know what I'm asking for?
Yeah.
All right, so he's going to call Jim Irsay and see if I can just use Jim's jet. He's calling me back shortly, but just start packing.
Hey.
You're the absolute best. Does this sound like a potential yes you're saying? He's the fucking best. I would be so thankful. Hey, this is really cool. I don't know how many billionaires would do this for people that have worked for them in the past. This is awesome, and I can't thank you guys enough. Can I take a kendo stick to his back?
We'll talk about it when you get here.
All right, I appreciate you, man. Hey, let's break the fucking internet tonight. What a hilarious life. We are live on Fox in 6 hours and 35 minutes. 3 hours of sleep, no clue what the storylines are. Just fucking let the nuts swing, bro. Let's just go out there and have a good time. Plane company. I know. Here we go, boys. All right, we'll talk about that tonight. This is going to be a night we're going to look back on and remember. And then we're going to hop on a plane and head to Memphis for College Game Day. I think this is a joke too. I just want to let you know, like, this is a Truman Show. I very much understand that this is not supposed to happen. I got the text at 1:42 p.m. today from Mr. H that says, "Have you heard there have been some travel issues? Can you make your way to Buffalo?" Jim Irsay, owner of the Colts, literally lent me his plane. Might be the most confident I ever tweeted on it. Something. I didn't know we were that good of friends, to be honest. I was throwing a Hail Mary, and he responded and said, yeah. So I got here about an hour and a half before the show, and to work with Renee, Tom, and be on SmackDown with a bucket of makeup on my face. This has been a dream come true bucket list type situation here in beautiful Buffalo, New York. Come on, boys. We're going to be on cable.
Joined here by Pat McAfee, replacing our guest commentator Aiden English.
No sleeves in, George. Good to see you.
It feels good here in Buffalo. I got a text from the game, a cerebral WWE official. He said, hey, you might have heard about the travel issues. Can you make it to Buffalo? I said, absolutely. What a magical evening it is, November 1st, 2019. I mean, let's be honest. The Marine was a heater. You know what I mean? He's a great actor. He was great on The Real World. He was great on all of that.
Oh.
Tegan, no! That's how they do it in NXT, baby. Almost took me out holding another grown lady in the air.
November 1st, 2019, greatest SmackDown in the history of SmackDown.
Pat, you joining us? It might absolutely be correct the way things have gone here tonight. SmackDown in the history of SmackDowns. November 1st, 2019. It's documented. I had a good time out there, man. I had no idea what was happening, so it was really just natural reaction to everything. It was awesome, dude. That's a real bucket list thing. Game day bucket list. This is like complete bucket list. 2 in 1 week. Oh yeah. Got a horseshoe shoved up my ass and a horseshoe owner lending us a plane. Are you kidding me, dude?
Let's get it. Let's go. Dream house is a tour bus. Scream loud that you knew us. Deep down, I'm the new plug. You ain't about to get too dust. Pete's frown when they crew scrubs. Sweet sound from the 2 subs. Beats loud as a move, bruh. Lead the crowd like, ooh, what? Long hair on the big body. 2 10s, both sitting shoddy. Crack a fist, start getting rowdy. Blowing nose, looking like an Audi. It's Uncle Sam without the taxes. Crowd stands up, I keep them loud. I made this beat, you hear it smacking? Who is 30? Hand me a napkin. You probably wasn't expecting this. What? Expected this?
Good morning, beautiful people. What's up?
What's up?
What's up, man?
What's up with you, huh?
What's up, guys?
What's up? What's up?
Thursday, July 16th. All the boys are here at Nick Moraldo, at Tone Diggs, at Ty Schmidt, Jason McAfee, Viva Lazito, Evan Foxy, and on the phones with an Uncle Sam crop top at Boston Connor, 1-833-622-3331. You can talk to that guy. Hey, we getting lit.
We getting lit.
We getting lit.
We getting lit.
Allegedly, the Washington team name TBD. A lot of people in there were getting lit. So before we went to the break, okay, intern Mitt is here as well. Shout out Mullet Mitt. We're putting in an extra day of work. Proud of you, bud. Before we went to good job, Mitt. Before we went to the break, I got a very long text message from somebody who, knows some people. Okay. And I read a couple of the sentences, and you saw my live reaction to what those sentences were. After reading the entire thing, I could tell you the message that I got was only accusations from people that they have heard. So it was a collection of all the accusations that are going on against the Washington team name TBDs currently, that is supposed to be aired out in a Washington Post column coming today, tomorrow, within the next couple days. Everybody is expecting. The reason why I cannot read that thing aloud is because none of that is confirmed, and it is basically a collection of stories that have been heard from people who know people over there. So if I was to read that, and I'm going to tell you this, if everything in that text message is accurate, this is a bombshell moment, not just for the Washington football team named TBDs, but for the NFL as a whole. This could be very catastrophic, but none of that's been confirmed. And I am not going to be the guy who comes out and reads something and potentially gets a feeds a false narrative guy, which potentially leads to lawsuits and stuff like that. But know that if 80% of whatever I just got is true, this is going to be a big problem. And it's not just the off the field stuff that is going to raise eyebrows. I think the thing that is involving the on field stuff is potentially now granted, there's other stuff in there that is disgusting, but I think the football stuff that is potentially going to come out is a much broader story than any of us could ever imagine. And I'm just waiting for the Washington Post to see if this text message that I just got is exactly what the Washington Post has been investigating for. Because if that is the case, all these text messages and tweets that are saying it's big and it's bad and it's sad, it 1,000% is. But I have no idea if any of this is true, so I cannot be the person out here saying boom, 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 because I have not done the investigation. I just sat here a little bit high and got a text message from somebody and did a lot of research on the internet. So I can't be that guy. I hope everybody understands. But boy, the on-field stuff is going to be quite a tall feat to overcome.
The hype
Tough
is real.
if that's true. And I've learned in my reporting days, it's better to be accurate than to be first.
You're a man of integrity.
Think about it. And then I got off the phone with legal during the break, and they said you can't.
There was numerous people that ran into this studio and said, do not read. And I got a text message from a couple of people that said, whatever you just got, do not read on the air.
Give it to Mitt.
And I think this is why a lot of the reporters, by the way, have just been saying this is going to be big, this is going to be sad, because that involves a lot of lawsuits. If there's people that if those stories are inaccurate, that is going to involve a lot of lawsuits. So I shouldn't be the person. But if this is the information from the Washington Post article and it's getting to this person, that means the Washington Post article is right around the bend. That means it is coming quickly. But boy, I don't even know what to do. I don't even know how we talk about anything else.
Keeping it in right now.
I don't know how we talk about anything. That on-field one is
ruins everything.
Yeah, seriously.
That's crazy.
I just got a message from the back that said,
keep it moving.
Keep it moving.
Hey, how you doing?
Keep it moving. I mean, the person that sent me that message are probably watching right now. I want to let you know, you're a terrible person. Okay, you are a terrible, terrible person for what you just did. You know how I operate. You know how this show is. You're watching this show right now. You know me rather well. And you're just going to make me sit on this particular thing that is potentially devastating.
Son of a gun.
Devastating.
I mean, it's an A-bomb. It's the big one.
Let's go Magpies.
This is a big one if this comes out.
Yeah.
And by the way, I think we go to a break. 4 minutes into the show.
Gotta do it.
No, can't do it.
Hey, Tiger's back today.
NASCAR had a race.
Let's pivot. Let's move. Let's talk. If that person's getting that information and that is the information that's going to be in the article, it's coming out very soon. And when that happens, then we'll do a follow-up to talk about it. But I can't be the person that does it. But how am I supposed to sit here with what I just read right there? I mean, we're talking pretty massive claims here.
That's Rihanna's box or Pandora's box.
Well,
See, well, you can't say that.
That's how.
Whoa.
That's how you pivot. Just one stooge comes in and just completely.
Raycon.
No. NASCAR did have their all-star race last night, and I believe why this is such a massive deal. Yes, $1 million was won by Chase Elliott in a dogfight with Kyle Busch all the way down to the checkered flag down there in Bristol, Tennessee. But the thing that was so interesting to me was I turned that race on with about 5-6 laps left, and I didn't see the internet upside down about this, and I thought they should have been because I was on the internet because of all the things that are currently happening with the Washington football team named TBD and the hype of the Washington Post article. So I was scrolling through the internet rather deep to try to find what it could be, what it isn't. So whenever a text like this comes through, I can kind of cipher through whether or not other people have said it already so I could potentially say it. So everybody was very hush-hush about this, and I did a lot. But the internet was not upside down about what was going on with the NASCAR race, probably because the blue check marks got banned from Twitter for a little bit. Now, I couldn't tweet yesterday. I could only retweet. So I sent Foxy a text saying, hey, Foxy, why don't you put out a tweet since I can't tweet? I would like to give away $1,000 to a random retweeter if you could put that tweet out. I retweeted it. I just couldn't tweet myself. Got like 13,000 retweets. And I started a burner account called Meatball Sub Stink.
That was you?
Meatball Sub Stink.
Wrong.
The first tweet that account put out, it's at Meatball Subs ST1. Okay, at Meatball Subs ST1. ST1.
I had a feeling that was you.
Yeah, so if you go back to that first one and retweet that tweet, I'm giving away $1,000 to 5 different people that retweet and follow Meatball Sub Stink. That potentially becomes my account whenever Twitter just shuts down verified check marks, which I didn't even know that was possible. And I want to let everybody know that I am nowhere near the Elons of the world, the Kanyes of the world. Let's assume people aren't going to be hacking into mine to try to steal other people's Bitcoins. You don't have to shut down everybody. It was a wild time on the internet last night, and not one mention on the internet last night was that in Bristol, Tennessee last night at a NASCAR race, at least from what I saw. Now, there might be a part of Twitter that was going active. There was 30,000 people in the stands. That is normally 160,000 bowl down there in Bristol, I guess. They only allowed a certain percentage. And there was 30,000 people that bought tickets and went there. And the crowd was loud. I turned on the race. There's 6 laps left, and they're shooting aside. And I see humans in there, and I'm hearing noise. And I'm like, oh, look at NASCAR putting in like the sex dolls like the Korean baseball organization was in the crowd to make it look that way, and pumping in footage. And then I started looking closer, and I saw people going crazy. I was like, do they have wacky inflatable people out there? That's next level. And then they showed the crowd, and it was like, no, they got humans in the stands. And I thought for the first time, I assume a lot of people did, we have fans in the stands for a sporting event here in America? Yeah. Welcome back! Yeah. Welcome back! I put that tweet out. I was like, are we back? And then obviously there was a lot of people who were like, no, it's not safe. It's not healthy. It's not what you're supposed to do. It's like, okay, hey, listen, I'm not saying I'm going, but I just need to know if we are back. And I would assume that the thought was whenever these large stadiums were saying that they would only do a percentage of people in the gate and sit down, I assume the thought was that they would be scattered around. They were not, by the way. They all found each other. They all celebrated with Chase Elliott. They came together for him to win $1 million. There was fireworks over his shoulder, a crowd cheering, a great race. And I felt for, I don't know, final 6 laps, probably 10 minutes long. I felt for 10 minutes. I was like, man, we're back, baby.
Back, baby.
Now, obviously the alternative here is, if Bristol, Tennessee runs out of hospital beds and tests and their ventilators and people just start dying and they all went to that race, that is going to be what we like to call a regretful decision by NASCAR. But me as a spectator in Indiana, nowhere near Bristol, Tennessee, I was like, hey, listen, okay, we're back.
Yeah.
Big NASCAR guy, big NASCAR show. It was a thrilling final 6 laps, especially because our guy KY was up there for $1 million. But the big takeaway was, hot damn, we got 30,000 people in the stands at this thing.
Let me tell you why they're fine, why all the fans are going to be fine, okay? Bristol's a short track, my friend. So there's those cars going around very fast. They create a tornado-like situation, which takes all the disease and throws it up into the sky. So no one in the stands was affected.
It's like the movie Twister.
Yes.
Yep.
So they take COVID, just like they took cows on Twister, take it up in the sky,
like Dorothy.
send it to the town next door. So look for the COVID cases to potentially rise near Bristol, Tennessee. By the way, when I saw it was at Bristol, I thought it was Connecticut.
So did I.
And I was very impressed that Bristol, Connecticut had 30,000 people. Turns out Bristol, Tennessee, I think Connecticut and Tennessee might have differing opinions on how to roll back into this world that we're currently in.
Oh, you did the Randy Moss pilot thing.
Yes, absolutely.
Flew to the wrong city.
Is that a public story?
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't know if that was something we heard behind the scenes or not.
No, that one's legit. That one's out there and can be verified.
Randy Moss works for ESPN, which is in Bristol, Connecticut. He was flying on a private plane, and said private plane company must have never flown Randy Moss before or knew that ESPN existed or saw him in a suit when he got on the plane to go to. They flew him to Bristol, Tennessee, and he woke up. And he was in Tennessee, and he was like, well, this ain't right. And then they had to fly him from Bristol, Tennessee to Bristol, Connecticut. Shows up right on time for the show. And by the way, what Randy Moss does, electrify the masses upon arriving. But that is the mistake that I made last night while watching the NASCAR race. I was like, hot damn, but Bristol, Connecticut's got 30,000 people in there? Turns out it was Bristol, Tennessee, but they did have 30,000 people in the stands. Was quite a moment for American sports. Big NASCAR show, win $1 million in front of the people. Chase Elliott said, shout out, shout out, shout out.
Straight cash only.
Bubba Wallace was crashed out in that race, taken out by somebody who loves the Lord, is all I took away from his post-game interview. He said, can't wait for his God-fearing message to me about how he's sorry and stuff like that. And on film, you clearly see him do like the cop pit maneuver on old Bubba Wallace.
Fishtail?
Yeah, it was like it looked as if he was attempting to hit his back end out.
Playing some Grand Theft Auto.
By the way, I don't know that was allegedly what I just did. Just like with the text message, nothing can be confirmed. You never know. Bro, how am I supposed to sit here for another 49 minutes with this thing here?
Where's Lombardi?
It's going to be a mental test.
We have to get to a break. Because I just wanted to go in right there because it tied into what I just talked about there.
Randy Moss, good guy.
This might be the most difficult day of radio that I've ever had in my entire life.
I keep searching that one word on the internet. It's not there. No one's got that news.
By the way, Diggs does know. So it's not just me that is fighting this fight of filtering. We are in a room full of people with no filters. And we know way too much. But it is a very expensive mistake potentially for a company if we're the ones that say it. There's no way that can be real.
And if it does, it's fracturing the shield.
It can be. It definitely can be.
Crippling.
Oh, I just hope that article is released during this commercial break. This is the Pat McAfee Show. Thanks for listening. Jeez. I was on a team that was very bad at football. We almost were completely defeated until Dan Orlovsky showed up and got 2 big wins. We ended up almost losing the luck pick because Dan Orlovsky, everybody thinks they're going to get fired. Every player thinks they're going to get cut. Every coach thinks they're going to get fired. They try to pawn blame off on other positional groups. If it's the linebackers, they're like, we did our job. D-line can't do anything, can't stop it. There's a lot of that chatter, but it's a miserable existence. I mean, it's just the way it is. That's why you have to have so much respect for a player like Joe Thomas, who played a perennial all-pro career in a situation that was so negative and so terrible. I think if Joe Thomas got a chance and his knees let him experience a winning organization, I couldn't even fathom what Joe Thomas would have thought. I mean, life is just much better whenever you win. When you win, food tastes better. Drinks taste better. Sex feels better. Everything is better when you win. Winning cures all, they say. That's not just in the building and for a football team. That's in your life. Everything is just better when you win. And when you lose, especially when you're talking about some of the most competitive humans on earth, it is a nightmare. You got a lot of people trying to jump off the ship. You got a lot of people trying to figure it out. And whenever you're in a situation like that, it's just a full-blown nightmare for everybody. You got to think, when you get to the NFL, let's assume that the humans that make it to the NFL have had a lot of success through their lives. High school football, probably one good player, a guy who's going to make the NFL can lead a team to success. In college, if you have a couple good players that can make the NFL and make it to the Dolphins, even though the Dolphins stink, you're still going to make the NFL. Let's assume that team has had success. So then you get to a completely unsuccessful operation, a completely defeated operation, and then it's like, man, this is a whole new life for us. I'll never forget, I had a coach, special teams coach. I won't say his name because this is a terrible thing to say as a coach. We lost the game. It was back in the first regime. We were a good team. We lost the game, and everybody was moping. You know, like people were not happy that we lost the game the next day. He was, you guys just haven't lost enough. That's what he said. Everybody looked at him and was like, yeah, no crap. What are you talking about, dude? Yeah, this is the winningest decade in NFL history here. Yeah, you haven't lost enough. It's like, you've lost too much, maybe. Are you just comfortable at this point? And that's whenever it can get a little scary. Whenever people are just comfortable just getting their asses kicked every week, that could be a problem. That's when the culture is probably a lost cause. That's when the locker room's too worried about playing dice or playing Boo-Ray or anything else like that. When that starts happening after losses, then you know you're in a bad spot. And I would assume that's not happening at the Dolphins, especially under Ryan Fitzpatrick's watch. But maybe it is. I don't know. But that is a miserable existence. I am not a fan of that.
How now? Oh, my live?
Yep.
Oh. Ray J in the house, y'all.
How now, Brown Cow?
Unique New York. Unique New York. My name is Lyman Zerga. Everyone needs a great pair of wireless earbuds, and you already know Raycon earbuds start at about half the price of any other premium wireless earbuds on the market. And Jay, what are you doing?
I never know what Jay's doing. He mutes me mid-sentence, too. It's for the
Jay.
betterment of the show. It's for the betterment of the show, he says. Bro, what am I supposed to do about it? Will you read that?
I don't even want to read this.
Will you just please?
Okay.
Because
their newest model, the Everyday E25 earbuds, are their best ones yet. Can we just talk about it?
No.
Okay.
But if we did,
Yeah.
I would hope people would be listening to us
With
from their E25 Everyday
earbuds,
earbuds, which are their best one yet. 6 hours of Bluetooth pairing, which is seamless.
Yep.
In their carrying case is enough power for 4 recharges.
yeah.
That is 24 hours of listen in one charge with the Raycon E25 earbuds that have a nice noise isolating fit for any ear. Is that accurate, Zito?
Do you have a personal story to go with that?
Yeah, my personal story is I always thought that the earbuds or pods, my ears are so weirdly shaped, okay? So my ears kick a lot of things out, okay? If they fit in there, I chew, I talk, they bounce out of my ear. That's why I always used to have something that wraps around my ear or the big ones over top, which is incredibly inconvenient because you can't sleep with those big ones. You might break them. I've broken a lot. So then when the Raycon E25 earbuds came out, they have different size ear hole things when they arrive, and they fit my ear perfect. And it's the first time I've ever been able to have AirPods or something that sticks in my ear and also cancels out the rest of the world. Great for working out, great for life. It has really changed my life. That is my personal testimony.
It's funny you say that. Snoop Dogg and Melissa Etheridge said the same thing.
Did they?
Yes.
And J.R. Smith.
Yeah, and Cardi B. I'm going to call the action real quick.
Cardi B.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Cardi B, great female rapper.
Oh, yeah.
Megan Thee Stallion, female rapper, great female rapper.
Oh, yeah.
Shot in the foot over the weekend.
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah, about it. Yeah, she got shot in the foot. Tory Lanez from Tory Lanez Radio on Instagram.
Yeah.
He had a gun in the car where I guess was ready to go to battle. He got arrested because you can't have a gun.
Tory.
So she got shot. He got arrested, and whoever shot her, I guess, is just out there and about in L.A.
You heard it here first, but get 15% off when you order at buyraycon.com/pet. That's buyraycon.com/pet for 15% off Raycon wireless earbuds.
What am I supposed to do?
I don't know.
Let's just keep my mouth away from the microphone. Let's move to another segment. Let's go to, since we have, it's going to be tough for you too. Since we are a live show, we have to cover things happening in the world so that people that are listening and watching can have a conversation with anybody about anything happening. To do so, our friend Nick with the news.
Thank you, Pat. The news today brought to you by Manscaped.
Yeah!
Manscaped offers up precision-engineered tools for your family jewels. Go to manscaped.com and get 20% off plus free shipping with the code PATM.
That's very nice of them to change that up. Keep people on their toes. Pat M.
Pat M.
Pat M.
Pat M.
For Pat.
Patty Meatballs.
Segment is over. No, I
this
like
isn't-
meatballs by themselves. I like meatballs.
That should be noted. And you're not a big sauce guy, so there's credit to you for that.
But I like meatballs by themselves. They're just not supposed to be a sandwich. A meatball sandwich is a stupid sub, possibly worst sub in sandwich ever created.
It's a great sub. Just don't get it from Subway.
I would eat a spaghetti meatball sub.
Oh, yeah. Oh, the best.
I have had a spaghetti meatball sandwich before.
Okay, and you loved it.
Didn't love it. Just did it because the food that we're eating got a bit repetitive after like the 4th month of doing it in college. So I did put spaghetti and a meatball on a sandwich, and it was a roll though. By the way,
Change your life.
Nice hoagie roll.
Yeah, no,
Like a little.
like a dinner roll.
Oh.
Yeah, it was unbelievable.
Come on.
Yeah, I even heated the roll up in the microwave too.
Thanksgiving.
I mean, I was high flying whenever I had that. But if you have a sub that is a meatball sub, you take one bite, all those balls come popping out the backside. Then you're inevitably going to have the terrible bite that is just bread and sauce because the meatball is not built to be in a sub. That
Ain't
is
nothing
why.
terrible about bread and sauce. Had one last night. It was delicious. Didn't make a mess at all. Didn't drop any meatballs. It was great.
That's a waste of energy. It's a waste of space. You're not having a sandwich. You're just eating basic ass bread with some marinara sauce on it. That's a bad sandwich.
No.
It's a bad
great
sandwich.
meal.
Marinara sauce and bread is delicious.
So the M does not stand for meatballs. Okay, the M stands for might have massive news to break, but can't do it. Jeez.
The M stands for money because that's what we're giving away thanks to our friends at FanDuel.
Oh, yeah, we are.
Yeah. Because the Pat McAfee Show Super Boost
Bingo.
is still going on.
Yep.
And is going to be extended.
Yeah, well, we're not 100% sure yet. We're not 100% sure of the extension.
That was why
there was
Mark
another sports book though that tried to hop on our creative. Okay, and if you're going to be behind us the entire time, cool, you'll stay there. Not that big of a deal. But FanDuel took Tiger to make the cut from minus 450, which means you bet $100, you win less. You win $20 probably. At that point, right?
Yeah,
you win
close.
$20
Just about.
at minus 450. Now they changed that to plus 100 with if you bet 50, which is the max bet, you win $50. Tiger Woods is going to make this cut, okay? This is going to make this cut. And I think if you even want to potentially just watch today, see how he does, so this is a guaranteed bet, I mean, I might pull some strings and keep it around for tomorrow, which is basically just giving away money for our friends at FanDuel. Plus 100 Tiger Woods playing this weekend. And by the way, if we watch Tiger Woods playing that match too, guess who's back? Back again. Tiger's back is back. Tell a friend. Feels like he's healthy. Got tiny little legs. Those won't strain any muscles, but he is controlling the golf ball. Plus 100 for him to make the cut. He's going to do that. It seems like the course is beating the hell out of the golfers, though, this morning. DeChambeau's like plus 40 at this moment. Must not have had all his protein shakes this week. Go ahead, Dick.
I believe he got back down to even after hitting a 423-yard drive.
So my.
A lot of questions, but I'm happy that people are hitting golf balls that far because that means that it is possible, and hopefully that'll just osmosis over to this particular office. Anything else going on in the world, Nick, that we are allowed to talk about?
Let's talk about the Twitter hacks that you experienced yesterday. All verified users were locked out of their accounts and unable to tweet, only able to retweet because of an internal systems hack where a Twitter employee was allegedly compromised, which hacked the accounts of Joe Biden, Barack Obama, Mike Bloomberg, Kanye West, Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk, and others in a Bitcoin scam.
We have had this conversation before about hackers, and I always assumed with my dumb little brain that hackers, like in the social network, are the super smart, younger, nerdy dudes and girls. They have headphones on, maybe the Raycon E25 so they can isolate from the world. Smart. And they are just somewhere on the internet typing, trying to crack codes, trying to guess passwords, trying to guess algorithms, trying to get in the back door of. I always thought that was exactly how all hacks happen. And I was mightily confused about how there seems to be so many people that are that talented that can just guess codes and get in there. Then I was informed by the smart people of our office that no, that does happen every once in a while. That does happen. There are people that do that. Yeah. But normally it's an inside job. Normally it's an email that's phishing for people's information, and some stooge who has access to something goes in there, boom, they get in there, then they crack in the back door to everybody else. You just said that this was somebody at Twitter who hacked into all these people's accounts for a Bitcoin scam?
Reports are...
that's going to take that. So now people at Twitter are hacking into people's...
Someone at Twitter was compromised. So someone at Twitter either gave their credentials out, was influenced in some way, was bought off, bribed maybe.
Happened all
the
time during the Cold War.
It's
It's probably
typically what happens.
some sexy woman who came in and lured the password. That's always what happens.
Oh, my Lord.
More?
No, I just read the Zion Williamson news coming out of
yeah,
Orlando.
yeah.
Breaking news, Zion Williamson of the New Orleans Pelicans. Happy, by the way, that hopefully they get that person out of there. But if one person at Twitter can hack into an account, what if there's like 5 people at Twitter that are just looking to get into people's accounts? Geez. There's nothing secure anymore.
No, not really.
Well, then you got that story leaking about what happened with Rachel Nichols and ESPN last night, how somebody at ESPN was recording Rachel Nichols, who was having a private conversation after hours in her room through her computer that was connected to ESPN for their, allegedly. This is all things that are alleged we know nothing about. But, I mean, you got people hacking into that computer. You got people hacking from Twitter, hacking into Twitter accounts. I mean, what are we doing to each other?
The world is a mad place right now.
Well, let's get back to some sports here. Zion Williamson, by the way, not good for anybody to get their things hacked into. T's and P's for everybody who got their stuff hacked into. Mm-hmm. And then Twitter, the people that did the hacking, they shut down my account yesterday, so I couldn't talk about that.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
What's going on?
I like tweeting for you, Pat. It was my most retweeted tweet I've ever had.
How many did you get?
It's at 14,500.
Wow.
That will not be beat.
Foxy's living today.
That's a good alley-oop. Thank you.
Foxy is living. Zion Williamson, New Orleans Pelicans phenom. My favorite player in the NBA, man that I got to announce whenever they're playing the Lakers, has departed Orlando this morning to attend the bubble. He has departed the bubble to attend an urgent family medical matter. He intends to rejoin the team in Orlando for the NBA restart at a later date. We fully support Zion's decision to leave the NBA campus to be with his family, said Pelicans executive Vice President of Basketball Operations David Griffin. Out of respect for the Williamson family, we will have no further comment at this time. What happened? Is Zion's family all right?
COVID?
Does this have something to do with the lawsuit that's going on against Zion? Is there a COVID potentially? T's and P's to Zion and the entire family. Don't love that Zion is kind of leaving the bubble, obviously. But, boy, I hope everything works out
You
down
met his
there.
family, right? Good people?
I did meet his family. I got a chance to shake their hands whenever we were down there at the Pelicans game. They said thank you for the introduction that I gave their boy. And the mom was a great personality. I mean, she was happy, she was friendly, she was nice. Met stepdad as well, which is a part of a lot of conversations happening, legality behind the scenes with agents and stuff like that. But that's a sad story. I don't like the Zion's leaving there. I hope he's okay.
Potentially, he's probably going to miss the start, right? Because once you come back, it's 10 days, right?
Yeah, he's going to have to lock it down for 10 days. And they are in playoff hopes.
Yeah,
they have to win.
They might have to make an exception for him.
Probably.
But if they make an exception for Zion, then what are they doing with their rules? Do we have any rules? Do we even have guidelines? If we don't have rules, what are we? That's what'll be said.
Oh, I mean, the bottom teams, too. They're there because Zion's on the Pelicans.
That's the only reason. Be real. The only reason why the NBA decided to do what they are currently doing was to get Zion into that bubble. Okay. So they made the rules. Obviously, top 8 teams in the Eastern and Western Conference will make the playoffs, but any teams that are within 6 games will also go in their respective conferences. The Eastern Conference only had 1 team that was within 6 games of the 8 seed, and then the Western Conference had 5 teams. And we thought for sure that they were only doing this for Zion. Then they have Zion, I think, primetime opening night. I mean, this was a lot for Zion. Now Zion's out of the bubble. We hope everything's okay, but I am bummed about my Pelicans potentially making a run here. You know what I mean? Potentially making a run. Should we get to a break? We should get to a break. We got Michael Lombardi on the other side. Michael Lombardi, former general manager for the Cleveland Browns, former executive assistant for the Patriots, also in the coaching consultant for the Patriots. We'll talk to him about Cam Newton's asking the question on whether or not he and Bill Belichick would mesh. How's he feel like that's going to go? I think his son is still coaching up there, so I assume he has a little bit of an inside narrative on that. And I would also like to talk to him about the AFL Collingwood Magpies on a tear back to the top of the ladder. Woo! No big deal. Slaughtered the Geelong Cats this morning. How's it going? 57-35. We dominated you from bell to bell. And that has to be tough to be a Geelong Cats fan, especially because you got your little sleeveless cut-off Guernsey. You know, you're representing the Geelong Cats, and you love them. And then the Collingwood Magpies come in and have their way with you guys.
Well, I'm not going to waver in my fanship, so.
I'm happy they're winning. 30 minutes after the hour, we're back on the other side with Michael Lombardi. This is the Pat McAfee Show. All right, let's get to some phone calls here. Let's go to Adonijah down there in Houston. What's going on, bub?
Hello.
What's going on?
Nothing much. How you doing, Pat?
Good. Great to hear from you, brother. How have you been?
Hey, well, honestly, right now I just got laid off, so pretty great, and I get to call you every day.
I mean, that is a positive way to look at it. And we hope you get back into the workforce in efficient fashion. We appreciate you getting to listen. What do you want to talk about, brother?
Hey, that's why I retweeted you and Evan, so I can get those $1,000 to stay afloat.
You know who's probably making that decision, by the way?
Connor?
Yeah, probably Connor or Zito. So those are the people to win over. They're probably the ones that are going to pick
you.
And if they don't pick you, remember, those are the two to hate.
Yeah. Yep.
Don't be scared to hate a little bit.
I'll say something nice about me right now.
Jeez, don't do it. Sorry, Adonijah. What do you want to talk about, brother?
Hey, so down the line, whenever you and your girl decide to have kids, you ever think you're going to be coaching at any level?
Great question. Probably not. I just don't have enough patience, I don't think. Now, granted, I see my friends who have kids that are playing sports, and they like post pictures and videos of their practices, and I see the things that are being said in these things. And it has to be very hard for my friends just to sit back and let some person maybe teach a wrong technique or a wrong ideal. And I think I potentially have problems with that. So I don't know. That's going to be a difficult balance because I don't like to be the guy that tells somebody, like punish people, which in sports you have to be able to do. You have to be able to punish, discipline people because that's a massive part of team sports. You have to be able to tell somebody to go run. You have to be able to be okay with putting people in incredibly uncomfortable positions because it's going to be better for them in the long run. I don't know if I have that. But with my kid, I am going to have a very interesting relationship on teaching them the do's and don'ts of most sports, I would assume.
Plus for you, for coaching, there's always that slight little time issue because you are quite busy.
Yes, the time issue is definitely a problem. And what if, then also dealing with kids' parents.
Yeah.
Oh,
why isn't my kid playing?
I would pay good money to watch that.
Well, then how about refs? Let's not even talk about me with refs potentially. It's probably smart that I don't coach, but it's going to be difficult for me, I think, if I'm watching a coach who's a bad coach and my kid happens to be on that team. So you never know. I don't want to say never, but it sure feels like that's not something for me. Let's go to Andy down there in Bama. What's going on, Andy, down in Alabama?
It is hot as hell, Pat. How y'all doing, fellas?
Hey, not too shabby. What part of Alabama you in?
I'm in Albertville, Alabama, just south of Huntsville, home of the Huntsville Trash Pandas.
Yeah! The Raccoons, the Trash Pandas. All right, here we go. What do you want to talk about, brother?
Well, I grew up in Mobile, so I'm a big Saints fan, and I'm a little concerned with Drew Brees with the negative comments he's had lately. If it's going to affect him, maybe, will he come back next year? Is he going to lose his contract, with Sunday Night Football? I mean, his future seems to be in the air with all this whirlwind going around him. Also, Pat, could you get some 6X shirts? Because I want to represent you guys, but I'm fat as shit.
Andy, 6X, Andy?
Yeah, I'm a big boy. And by the way, if you cut the top out of your bread and put your meatballs in it, they don't fall out.
All right.
Oh, yeah.
All right, Andy. I'm from Mobile, Alabama, and I rode a plane. Thanks to Kanye's workout plan, I'm the envy of all my friends. See, I ran me a baller man, and I don't have to work at the mall again. Boom, 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 boom. Mobile, Alabama, the home of Mardi Gras.
And leprechauns.
No kidding.
Yeah, anybody see the leprechauns say yeah? Yeah, Mobile, Alabama, the home of Mardi Gras, and then New Orleans took it to a whole nother level.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, Mobile, Alabama, also the home of the Senior Bowl, which I played in. So that's where I learned that, and also the home of a kid named Trip Hale, who's a teammate of mine in college. I know a lot about the Mobile, Alabama. Wow. And I think Pat White's from Daphne, which is near Mobile, Alabama. So, I mean, I know a lot about the Alabama down there. With Drew Brees, I don't know if he even wants to do the Sunday Night Football job at this point because he got a little bit of a taste of what it's like to have your voice projected to a lot of people no matter what. I don't know if that's going to be, who knows what's going to happen there. 1 year from now, 2 years from now, could be a completely different world for everybody. So I don't think Drew is even thinking about that. I will be intrigued to see how this plays out, though, for Drew Brees this season. Now, granted, physically, will his arm be able to make it through an entire season? I guess you can hope if you're a Saints fan. It seems like last year with a 5-week break, he was much better at the end of the season than he was the year before. But off the field, in his teammates and other I'm excited to see how that all plays out for Drew Brees. I have no idea, to be honest with you.
Edge rusher is going to be trying to snap his spine in two.
Welcome back to the Pat McAfee Show.
I just called. That's on. Oh.
Joining us now is a man who has done everything in the NFL from top to bottom, has great knowledge, and every time we talk to him, I feel like I learned something. I'm entertained. He's incredibly Italian. Ladies and gentlemen, Michael Lombardi.
Yeah, Lombardi! Incredibly Italian. I like that. Incredibly Italian. Yes, that would be true. I appreciate that.
Paisan, you agree meatball subs are the worst subs to ever exist as subs?
Ever.
Oh, Lombardi! Get out of here! Get out of here!
But, it's like, look, meatballs have their place. I love them to death. But that, I like meatball and Italian bread dipped in the gravy. But I don't want it. I don't want it all coming out. I want to eat it with a fork.
Yeah, bingo! Thank you, my Italian friend who knows what he's talking about.
You can't. Just so for the record, you can't get a meatball sub in Italy. You can't get veal parma in Italy.
Am I more Italian than you two?
Oh, no.
Am I more Italian than you two?
You forget which side I was on.
Oh, yeah. I forgot you played defense like an Italian. But you!
Yeah, no, Dick stinks. He flip-flops more than I'm not going to say it.
Well, I mean, look, we've been on both sides of the war. We understand being Italian, you can change any time. Right?
All right, let's talk, shall we? Cam Newton. Yeah. Cam Newton on Odell Beckham Jr.'s YouTube. I'm sure you've seen the clip. Victor Cruz asked him about how he kind of spent his days unemployed. And he talked about how it was 86 nights that he fell asleep without a job. And he would ask his agent about teams, whether or not they wanted him. And his agent was like, they have no interest. Then whenever he heard the Patriots were interested, his first question was, can me and Bill mesh? Well, me and Bill, which I think is a very self-aware question by Cam Newton. In your eyes, how do you think Bill and Cam Newton will mesh if Cam Newton, I assume he'll dial it back, everything he's doing off the field during the season. But do you think Bill Belichick will be able to have a good relationship with Cam Newton?
Well, I think both people have different perspectives, reality in the building as they do based on the media. Cam's this flamboyant, guy with funny hair, great suits, the whole thing. And Bill's this, stoic, doesn't acknowledge, never smiles. And I think at the core, they both want to win. And I think, look at Randy Moss. When I traded Randy Moss, everybody said Randy Moss was a bad guy, yada, yada, yada. But it was so not true. The reality of Randy Moss was one of the smartest players that have been around, cared about winning. He wanted to win. He wanted everybody to do it. When he went to New England, everybody said, well, that will never work. And I told Belichick it'll work no problem because he wants the same thing you want. Now, how you both get there may be a little different in terms of style, but you want the same thing. And I think that that's exactly what's going to happen to Cam. Cam's going to embrace it because Cam's going to feel challenged mentally by what they're going to do with him offensively.
And I think that Cam will be excited to maybe prove a lot. He already said he's circling teams that said on the schedule, he's like, this team could have signed me, this team should have signed me, this team should have signed me. If he becomes his best player he could possibly be, that's the greatest revenge for anybody, I'd assume.
Yeah, and I mean, look, he's sitting out there. He sees Patrick Mahomes at $45 million. He sees Dak Prescott's going to get a huge deal. Deshaun Watson's deal is probably 10 days away from getting done, maybe sooner. He's going to be in the 40s.
Is that breaking news? Is that breaking news right there?
Well, I think it's going to get done. I don't know the timetable, but they are going to get it done. And I think that this,
breaking news.
There we go.
When you look at it, Cam's got everything in front of him. And you know from playing, a player that has everything in front of him is always playing his best.
Yeah, it's a contract year for him. A contract year is the biggest year. A 1-year prove-it deal for a guy who feels as if, not that he has to prove it because he's already an MVP, but he already has that grudge. It feels like he's going to have his best year yet. Let's talk about the conversation he and Josh McDaniels had or he spoke about. How Josh McDaniels, or maybe it was either McDaniels or Belichick, basically said to him, like, hey, you know what you're coming after here. Like, this is a very difficult shoes to fill thing. This is like when Andrew Luck was expected to be able to fill in for Peyton Manning. And Andrew Luck just kept saying, like, hey, I'm not replacing Peyton. I am simply trying to be my best me. He handled it very, very well. And I think Cam Newton did the same thing. He was like, I respect Tom Brady. I respect that he's great. But you're going to be able to do things with me that you've never done before with Cam Newton. Talking about power. I mean, he's taller and weighs more than Derrick Henry, okay? So he is a big, big guy. What do you think Josh McDaniels will be able to do with Cam Newton to potentially bring out the best Cam Newton and also get wins for the Patriots?
Well, I think he'll do a lot of different things in terms of the spread. So Cam has this unique perspective. He can spread it out, right? But he's also the runner at quarterback. So when you spread formations out and you go empty, they still have to count for him running. But what does that mean? That means you still have a play-action pass game. Because if he steps up and pulls back, they got to draw it in. I mean, we've not seen that in the NFL. Like, that's where Deshaun Watson could explode. The quarterback, as a runner, the defense has to honor. Teams that run their quarterback. We see it a lot often at Watson. And so there's an element. And then the whole fact of what he can do, run-pass options, something that New England hasn't had. And I think Cam's right. They're going to be different offensively. They're going to be different. But they're going to be effective, and I think it's going to show up in the red zone. Look, every time you played New England, you knew it was going to be a certain coverage because Tom wants to throw the ball in the middle of the field, and he's great at doing it. Now that can't be the case, and I think this gives Josh a chance to show people his creativity.
So it feels like Belichick, if he has a lot of respect for you as a player, whenever you're up, he's going to try to get you there. You saw it with Ocho Cinco. You saw it with Reggie Wayne with him. You saw it with Randy Moss with him. You saw it with a lot of players. If he has respect for your game, he's going to do whatever he can to get you there. You saw Cam Newton was available. He probably thought with their salary cap, there's no chance he was going to be able to sign him. He ends up being able to sign him for a very minimal contract. Like, is Bill Belichick, what puts somebody in Bill Belichick's eyes to be like, hey, that's a guy that is a problem? Like, for instance, Lamar Jackson, I think, had success against the Patriots last year. Cam Newton had success against them. Do you think Bill Belichick watches film and he writes down against Cam Newton, like, if we can ever get this guy on this team, let's get this guy on that team? Is that something that Bill does?
Yeah, I think he does. I think he studies the game. And look, he understands that he has to be adaptable. So, they gave a lot. They did a lot of homework on Lamar Jackson, a lot. And I'm sure they didn't feel like they could pull the trigger. They had 2 first-round picks. They picked Isaiah Wynn. They picked Sonny Michel. They won the Super Bowl that year. So, obviously, it worked out. But I think, knowing that he has to adapt to the game. And he studied, and what gives him trouble as a defensive coordinator. This is where Belichick's so good. He's a defensive coordinator, but he knows what gives him trouble and movement at the position. When quarterbacks no longer stand at the same launch point, when they have to go, when they can throw the ball anywhere in the backfield, that's a real problem for the defense because it separates the defense. And I think this is what Cam will do. They'll be different. They'll be much different offensively. They'll look faster. I think N'Keal Harry's going to have a super year because he's going to get a lot of footballs thrown to him.
N'Keal. You were close. I mean, Keneal, Nikhil. You're close.
Neil, well, it slips off my tongue. It's the Italian in me, Pat. You know, sometimes I want to try to make it all my
Harry.
Anyway, Harry. Let's just call him Harry. All right?
The last question about the Patriots here before we move on to other stuff, because franchise tagging and contracts getting done and potentially spoiling relationships long term are definitely things that can happen around the date that we're currently at. So I would like to talk to you about that. But last question here about the Patriots. There's people who still think Jarrett Stidham is the quarterback for the New England Patriots. Are those people idiots?
They're really. I mean, look. Just pay attention to this. Only bet as much as you're willing to win. Go to the window and bet Cam. Cam Newton is a top 10 quarterback. This is no disrespect to Jarrett Stidham.
Agreed.
Okay, Cam Newton's a top 10 quarterback, and he's going to show it. And the players are going to gravitate to him. So stop listening to the media reports that said the Patriots were never interested in Cam Newton to begin with, and just focus on take your money to the window, bet Cam to be the starter, and only bet as much as you're willing to win.
That's very annoying, by the way, that the Patriots get Cam Newton, a top 10 quarterback, for $1 million when I believe the Indianapolis Colts are at the top of the charts for how much money they're spending on quarterbacks. $46,000 they're spending on 2 quarterbacks, and the Patriots, I believe, are spending $2.75 million on quarterbacks or something like that. It's the Patriots. It's unbelievable. Let's talk about that sports track or spot track. I don't know the guy's name. He's another Italian. I think his name's Mike Giannitti, who runs this. Very thankful for this entire list. But the Patriots, Cam Newton down there, they're paying $1.87 million between Cam Newton and Jarrett Stidham. And if you look up at the top there, Phillip Rivers and Jacoby Brissett, $46,000. But right below there, the Dak Prescott, Andy Dalton setup is the number 2 highest salaries towards a quarterback room in the NFL going into next year. Let's talk about Dak Prescott. Everybody said that last year he should have got a deal done with the Dallas Cowboys. He goes out and has his best year. Now he's up for being a free agent. Then the franchise tag hits, and everybody's like, well, if Jerry likes him, he needs to lock him down. He needs to lock him down. His group was steadfast on a 4-year deal. Jerry was steadfast on a 5-year deal. Now they don't come to an agreement. He plays for $31.4 million this year. The last 2 quarterbacks, the only 2 quarterbacks that have ever played on the franchise tag, have ended up leaving the team that they're playing for. Drew Brees with the San Diego Chargers, Kirk Cousins with the Washington football team named TBD. Is the Washington Post article out yet? Can't wait to read that. I think it is going to be devastating. But when you talk about Dak Prescott, his brother put out a tweet yesterday that was very interesting. He said, there's a reason I wasn't a fan of the Cowboys growing up and before they drafted Dak. And after today, who knows how much longer I'll be cheering for them. Did that situation get ugly down there? And is that something that you think about when you're a general manager and you're dealing with your quarterback? Like, hey, let's not try to ruin this relationship long-term either, because that matters in this thing that involves humans.
Well, you know as well as anybody, money is the only really factor here. So let's just put this in perspective. The Cowboys look at Aaron Rodgers' salary. They look at Russell Wilson's salary. And they say, Dak, you're not better than either one of these guys. So, they see Jared Goff there, and they say, okay, you're better than him. So they offer him a 5-year deal that averages somewhere between $33 and $35 million, according to Jane Slater. Right? He wants a 4-year deal. I don't think it's about years. I think it's about average. Todd France, his agent, realizes that Patrick Mahomes in the 40s. He knows Deshaun Watson's going to be in the 40s. He doesn't care that his player's not better than Russell Wilson. He doesn't care that his player's not better than Aaron Rodgers. He cares that his player is up. And as you know, being a player, sometimes being the best player doesn't mean you get the most money. It means your timing has to be the best. And right now, Dak Prescott's timing is the best. So for Todd France, sign the tender, put the ball back in Jerry's court, make him have to see what he's going to do, because in 2 years, in another year, he'll get $37 million. So now he's at 2 years right around that number. He doesn't have anything to lose. So it's getting easier for Todd France to say no. There's no deal on the table that Todd France says we should take this deal, because it's too easy to say no.
If you were Jerry, would you have locked him down, knowing that he and Mike McCarthy have not gone through a season together yet and having no idea what that could potentially look like?
I would have. I really would have been. I would not. I don't agree that he's better than Aaron Rodgers. I don't agree that he's better than Russell Wilson. But I also understand the market, and he's not better than Carson Wentz, who did a deal. That's another problem in the division. I mean, Carson Wentz took a team, was almost the MVP. They won a Super Bowl. I know with Nick Foles. So I think logic tells you your one side of your brain says logically we shouldn't pay him this much. The other side says we're going to have to.
Who's telling you Deshaun Watson's deal is going to get done in the next 10 days? Anybody reliable?
That's running through the league. I think people know they're working hard on it. I mean, look, once Mahomes got done, then Deshaun Watson's deal is going to get done. It's like you just knew it. It's like Chris Jones's deal. The reason it got done was because Mahomes, the way he structured his deal.
How are they going to pay everybody? How are they going to pay everybody? Chris Jones gets $80 million. Patrick Mahomes gets $5 million.
Here's the thing. We have to look at the contracts. Chris Jones' contract is essentially for 2 years. Then there's no guaranteed money in years 3 and 4. Then he could walk away. So all the guarantees in the first 2 years, we get so caught up in the marquee name of the number. Okay, he just signed. It's always the first 3 years of the deal. And the first 3 years of Mahomes' deal is very friendly for the club. Will lower the cap number. Now, they're going to have to get rid of some mid-level players. I mean, if you're not playing well and you're making $6 or $7 million, you're going to be out the door. They're going to have to rely on their draft. They're going to have to sign some guys. But they're going to be – they want – Chris Jones was key for them, Pat, because Chris Jones is the one guy, if he played on an opposing team, say he played on the Colts, he could give Mahomes a lot of trouble.
Yeah, number 2 D tackle in the league behind Aaron Donald, who's potentially the greatest D tackle in the history of football. So that's not a bad thing to get. He gets paid. Let's talk about that contract structure. Derrick Henry negotiates a deal, gets it done before 4 p.m. yesterday before playing on the franchise tag. That thing is front-loaded. That $25.5 million that he's guaranteed come in the first 2 years, and then the last 2 years it's like $30 million or whatever back there. That seems like a deal that is a 2-year deal that they have locked in for 4 just in case the Titans don't want to have to renegotiate or anything like that. Is that accurate?
That's completely accurate. So what they decided, look, they said, okay, if we took Derrick Henry for 2 years and we just franchised him both years, here's the number. And it's probably going to come right around 20, maybe $23 million for 2. So they gave him a little bit of a bump, 25 for 2. It was a deal that the guy had to take because it's more than if they franchised him for 2 years in a row. So he takes the deal. He gets guaranteed $25 million. It makes sense. He couldn't say no to that deal, and it gives the club flexibility to be able to move away from it because in year 3, he won't be on the Titans. It'll be 2 years and pretty much done.
That's a smart way to look at it. Like, okay, how do we get this deal done? Let's do what the franchise tag is now, what it'll be next year, a little bit more. Okay, do you want to take this or not? Yep, bingo, we got a deal done, and we save our franchise tag, and we got the workhorse for our team for at least the next 2 years. That's a brilliant way to set it up. It's surprising that the Cowboys weren't able to do that with Dak because – I mean, if you need to look
I think Dak. I think what Jerry and Steven are probably most frustrated with, no matter what deal they put in front of Todd France, he was going to say no to. He's waiting for Watson. He was waiting for Mahomes. He wants to be able to wait. He doesn't want to get out. He doesn't want to be $5 million away from Watson or $6 million away. He wants to make sure that he's there.
Did you see the Collingwood Magpies this morning? We're back.
Yeah, you're back. I loved it. The back. I mean, dominant.
You see that? You see, FanDuel has a bet right now. Tiger Woods to make the cut plus 100.
That's all it is?
Yeah, plus 100. Tiger Woods to make the cut.
He loves Memorial. I mean, anytime Tiger plays at a course that he truly loves the person who designed the course, I'm betting Tiger.
Bingo. Me too. If he's choosing to play the course, there's a reason. There is 100% reason.
Michael, I have an X and O's question. I was listening to you this week on your show, and you were talking about how Trubisky does well against defenses when he knows and he could practice on Wednesday and Thursday, and then the same defense is going to be on the field on Sunday. So if you know that, I assume the league knows that, why is it that defenses on Sunday then do the exact same thing that they know Trubisky is going to know?
Well, I mean, they try to disguise it, but sometimes it's hard. Sometimes teams like, when Tony Dungy ran the Colts, you knew they were going to be in Tampa too. You could pretty much predict what they were going to do. They were just better at it than you were doing it, and they played fast. But when Trubisky gets the ball and the game doesn't come off like he practiced on Wednesday or Thursday or Friday, then all hell breaks loose. He can't quite process it. It just doesn't. Well, Coach, you told me to throw the ball in the flat here. Yeah, but the flat's not open. We got to go to our second guy. And that stuff doesn't happen. That's why practice, when it's rehearsal, Trubisky looks good. Practice when it's just all over the place, he doesn't. So if he goes and plays, here's the thing, and I talked about this on the show. You've got to bet coordinators, too, when you're putting your lines together. When Trubisky goes and plays Greg Williams, you're never betting Trubisky in that game. Greg Williams will do all sorts, Don Martindale, all sorts of things. But when he plays against a simple coverage that he knows he's going to get, he actually looks like he can be effective because it's the way he practiced it on Wednesday.
Oh, such an inside scoop right there. That's why Nick Foles is going to be the starter up there. You can catch Michael Lombardi on the GM Shuffle Pod. He writes for The Athletic, former GM. You can listen to him on VSiN and a good friend of ours. Ladies and gentlemen, Michael Lombardi. Thank you, man. Cheers, brother. He's so good. So the Washington Post article has not come out yet?
No, but I have learned because I set the notifications for it. They do tweet every 3 minutes.
So the Washington Post? They got a lot to say.
Fuck.
Jeez.
Tony!
Tone, are you kidding me?
What the hell was that?
So close, Tony.
11:53 here. We got, 35 seconds left until we're off the air, and you just...
Well, we started the show with one. Might as well end it with one.
Unbelievable. Sorry, Dawn. Sorry about that. It's been a long day of waiting. The Washington Post article will come at some point, they say, in the next couple of days. It's going to be big. If it's anything like the text message I got, it's going to be massive. Sorry to be like a tease guy or whatever, but that feels like that's what's happening.
That's the game, baby.
Yeah, that's business, baby.
McAfee and Hawk Sports Talk is back at 1 p.m. on youtube.com/The Pat McAfee Show. This has been that show, Thursday, July 16th. You're the greatest. See you manana.